it's Christy Lee again, and I'm here to talk about the top 5 places to move to in Colorado in 2021. Now, if you're considering moving to Colorado and just don't know the right cities or the right areas to look into or to research, that is what this video is all about. Let's get started. All right. So my name is Christy Lee, and I am a local realtor and native of Colorado. And first on our list is going to be Castle Rock, Colorado. Castle Rock is actually a great location. It's right in between, so it's about 35 miles south of Denver and about 22 miles north of Colorado Springs. So it's gonna be kind of right there, sits right there in the middle on I-25. A beautiful location, there's views everywhere, and it's known, Castle Rock, it's known for like a castle, or it's a large rock that's kind of placed up on top of the city that overlooks the plains, and that's kind of where it's got its name, is Castle Rock. One great thing I personally like about Castle Rock is the outlet stores. So it's going to be outdoor outlets, just like the ones I'm sure you've seen before around the United States. So it has some great shopping out there, some great restaurants. Castle Rock as a whole is pretty much a commuter town. So if you live there, most likely you're going to be working in either South Denver or maybe even to the Springs too. A lot of people are going to commute because there's not going to be a whole lot of those major industry businesses out there. But you do have obviously employment out there. Just a lot of people are going to be either commuting into Denver or down to Colorado Springs. The average house out there is going to cost right around mid 400s up to 500s. Now, obviously, that is going to be depending on when you end up purchasing a house. Right now, the housing market is just going crazy. So most likely it will be a little bit more than that. But Castle Rock as a whole is going to be a little bit more overall cost than Denver, and that includes everything. That includes, gas and groceries and stuff like that. It is just going to be a little bit higher than the Denver prices, and mainly it's just because of that location. It is a gorgeous location. A lot of people like to be out by the mountains. You're probably, only about 30 minutes from Colorado Springs. So if you like to, hike 14ers and stuff like that, you have Pikes Peaks out there. They could go hike. A lot of people like to drive to Colorado Springs as well for the Manitude Incline out in Manitude Springs. So you are really close to the outdoors when you're living in Castle Rock. All right, number 2 on our list is personally one of my favorites, just because I've lived so close to it for so long, is Boulder, Colorado. Now, I'm sure most of you have all have heard of Boulder, Colorado, mainly because of, the University of Colorado is right there. So for the longest time, a lot of people just didn't want to move to Boulder only because it was a college town. You have the college students and you have to deal with all of that. That has changed. That has definitely changed over the last maybe even 10 years or so. Actually, just the other day, it just said, I just read that the median house price in Boulder is just over $1 million. So people want to move in Boulder, and they really don't care about the type of house that they're moving into. You could get 1,000 square feet in Boulder for $600,000 that was built in the 1960s. Or you could spend, well over $1 million to several $1 million for something brand new. However, Boulder as a whole is incredible. So you have Pearl Street Mall, you have so many fun restaurants and, dinings. They have the trails everywhere. The Flatirons Mountains are going to be right there for you to hike and climb. You are super close to El Dorado Canyon, and even just getting on the I-70. You could just take 95 down to Golden and hop right onto I-70 and get up to the mountains in no time, like an hour. So if you like that idea of being very outdoorsy, I should say, as a Coloradoan, a very outdoorsy way of living, Boulder's going to be it. However, you are going to be paying a premium to live there. Boulder is going to be definitely more expensive than living in Denver, and that goes with everything. So again, groceries, gas, all of that kind of stuff. If you live in Boulder, you even have to pay for grocery bags, like the plastic bags. When you go to the store, they charge you for those. So just kind of think about that when you're thinking about moving there. Love Boulder, love the vibe of Boulder, but it's definitely more on the pricey side. So, you know, if that's your thing, if that's what you love, look into Boulder, because you're going to find some great places. Okay, so number 3 is the complete opposite side of Boulder, Colorado, and that's Colorado Springs, Colorado. So I've lived in Colorado Springs as well, and I will say it is 100% opposite of Boulder. It's definitely more conservative. You have Fort Carson, so the Army base out there. You also have Air Force Academy down there as well. It is a beautiful, beautiful place to live, but it's just going to be completely opposite of, you know, the northern side of Colorado, I should say. You also are going to have a few colleges down there. Colorado University of Colorado Springs, so CU Colorado Springs is actually down there. You're going to be close to Manitou Springs, which is super cool. Like I already talked about, is the Manitou Incline. That's really, really popular out here if you like to hike. It's a mile straight up on like a cogway rail system. So that's a lot of fun, really hard, but it's a lot of fun. You also have a lot of cool restaurants and stuff like that. Colorado Springs is going to be a lot more spread out for sure, and it's definitely growing. Cool thing about Colorado Springs though is that it's a lot less expensive than Denver and definitely Boulder, but you're gonna get more for your money if you move to Colorado Springs. So I would say the average house right there, right now anyways, is gonna be the low 400s, and that's gonna be a new build. So you could find something relatively inexpensive if you wanna move to the Springs. It's a gorgeous place. I will say I have noticed living there is that the Springs is a little bit more windy, and I think it's just because it's coming right off of the foothills out there. So you just expect a little bit more wind if you move down there. But overall, I mean, it is growing. There are parts that are a little bit still run down, but I think they're fixing them up. And then I just really like the fact that it's so close to the mountains. You're actually pretty close to Cripple Creek as well. So that is going to be one of the 2 casino area. I guess we have 3 gambling areas, but Cripple Creek is going to be the farthest south one that we have to offer. So Colorado Springs is going to be overall less expensive in groceries and gas and housing, things like that. There is a lot of employment down in the Springs too, especially if you work for the military or even, you know, the Air Force. So if you're an educator and work for the Air Force, you could be out there too. There's a lot of hospitals down there, so a lot of doctors and nurses, they go down there. Oh, and we also have the Olympic Training Center, which is down there too. So that's pretty cool. So the Springs is number 3 on our list, and so I highly recommend moving down to Colorado Springs if that's the kind of environment you're looking for as well. Okay, number 4 on our list is Denver. And so Denver, Colorado is obviously pretty large, and it offers so much wide variety within Denver, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. I mean, whether you want to live in more of the higher end, the Cherry Creek area, you have the Highlands, Park Hill, Govs Park, things like that. We have now the Rhino District, which is really cool, up and coming. But Denver also spreads out too. So you have in more of the suburbs part of Denver, and so you're going to have more closer to DIA. So you're going to have the Reunion area that are all offer all new builds out there, and then closer to Commerce City or even more towards Aurora, there's parts like there that are still considered Denver too. Right now, the median house price in Denver is going to be right around that 500 to 600 price point, but obviously you could find something a little bit lower depending on how far out you want to move. You could get into the Reunion area right around the mid 400s and get a new build for that matter. But if you want to stay more in the heart of Denver, you're gonna have one of those older houses, more a Victorian house, smaller yards, more like that. But those are gonna be $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 just because you're paying for location. People like the walkability, the little restaurants, the coffee shops, things like that. You have access to the light rail, the RTD, all of that kind of stuff is right there. And for the most part, if you want to live in Denver, you're probably going to be working in Denver too, right? So you're going to be able to walk to work or even Uber to work, and you don't necessarily need a car. Denver as a whole is going to be pretty much average as far as, you know, the cost of your groceries, your utilities, things like that. It's going to be pretty much the national average that you're probably already looking at paying anyways. But like I said, I mean, there's so many different neighborhoods within Denver. So in another video, I'll go ahead and talk about all of those. It's just kind of what you're looking for. So Denver could, you know, definitely be more family oriented on some parts. And then if you're looking more of the single dating vibe kind of neighborhood, there's definitely other neighborhoods that are like that too, but worth checking out for sure. A lot. Right. Last but not least is number 5, and that is Fort Collins. And I spend a lot of time in Fort Collins. I personally love Fort Collins. My husband went to school in Fort Collins. So Fort Collins is obviously known for Colorado State University. So it again is just like Boulder, a college town, but it has a different vibe than Boulder. So Boulder's kind of more hippie, if you want to call it that, and Fort Collins is going to be more, you know, your college town, but you still have the outdoors and things like that, but you're just going to be a little bit more from the outdoors, a little bit farther north. So Fort Collins is north of Denver and north of Loveland. Fort Collins is really, really cool because not only do you have the college town, but it is definitely more separated than Boulder is too. So it doesn't necessarily feel too much college-y, if that makes sense. Your average price point for a house is going to be right around that 500 price point, 500,000. You could definitely find townhomes and things like that for less. If you're looking for an investment property, maybe I highly recommend Fort Collins because you could, you know, get a townhome or condo or something like that and rent out to some college students and make some money doing that. You could find some in the mid 200s to even low 300s for that matter. Fort Collins, you know, has a Budweiser event center out there. You have, you know, the main strip for all the college students, so where all the restaurants and bars and things like that hang out, all the little tiny boutique shops. You also have Left Hand Brewery is up there, which is a lot of fun. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if Left Hand's up there. I know New Belgium's up there. So if you would like to go to breweries, Fort Collins is really where it is. There's a major, there's probably 10 or 15 up there. But my favorite one is New Belgium. It has a slide you could slide down. So that's fun. And then there's also, you know, Horsetooth Reservoir is up there. So there's a lot of water up there too. So, which is kind of unusual for Colorado, but we in Fort Collins and in Loveland, so they're all kind of the same. You're going to have a lot more water. So average, you're going to spend a little bit less than Denver to live up there, but definitely considerably less than Boulder. So if you're looking for a college town to move to, I would definitely say more Fort Collins, just simply based off of price. You're not going to spend nearly as much money to live up in Fort Collins, but still get that college feel if that's what you're looking for. So Fort Collins is definitely one of my high end on my list. All right, that's it. The 5 top places to live and move to in Colorado in 2021. Like I said before, I am a local realtor and I absolutely love helping all of you. I love hearing from you. I am the one who answers the text messages and the emails. So please reach out if you have any questions about any specific city that I've talked about today or any city that you're interested in potentially moving. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video for you or get you more information. Just remember to click subscribe right there so you get notified every time I do a video. Click the bell as well so you know when they are posted. And to the next video. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.